2018. What are some of the problems that we are facing, and how we can use some of our policies of our previous leaders and move towards success. Some of the major problems that India is facing today is, number one, there is vast inequalities between the distribution of wealth between the rich and the poor. We are seeing now that more than 80% of the wealth, or 85% of the wealth is held in the hand of less than 3 or 4% people of the country. More than 80% of the wealth is just in the hands of few. So you can understand the widening gulf which is there between the rich and the poor. And to be honest, there hasn't been any improvement. To be honest, that the recent policies on demonetization, GSTs, which has affected a lot of small-scale industries, this has allowed that gap to widen even more. We need to look at it practically, that some of these policies, because of not being implemented in the way it should have been, has led to a widening gulf between the rich and the poor. The poor are now becoming more and more dependent on the rich for their mercy, literally. Second major problem that we have is unemployment. And the best example of unemployment is, go to your mobile phone and you see social media. And you get an idea how and where the youth are. The youth are spending more time on social media. The youth are doing more time defending the leaders, abusing others, one another, engaging in these kind of dialogues. People are not worried about jobs. People are more worried about where places of worship will be built. People are more worried whether you should be eating a certain animal or not eating a certain animal. People are not worried about jobs. Log bekar baithe hue hain, and they are happy with that. They have no worries. But this is the problem. The mindset has become like this. We are unemployed, and instead of helping us come out of the unemployment, unfortunately, some of the policies are allowing us to stay unemployed and engage in other wasteful activities. The third, in fact, I want to share statistics. According to a report by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, they found that in India, over 30% of the people in the age bracket of 15 to 29 were doing nothing. They were neither studying, they were not working. 15 to 29, neither studies nor education or no work. 15 to 29, the most important age, youth of India, 30% of the youth of India are doing nothing. Now that, as an Indian, worries me, that I wish to see my country become number one, but I see 30% of my youth doing nothing. The real resource, the real wealth, human capital is going waste. And we are not talking about it. We are not worried about it. We are more worried about where we should build temples and mosques and so on and so forth. We have an extremely poor infrastructure. In fact, 40% of the Indian fruits which are produced, they get rot before they come to the market. Such is the infrastructure facilities that 40% of the efforts of the farmers is going waste. Fruits are getting rotted before they come to the market. There is a high level of private debt. Property boom, which we had in the last 10-15 years, saw many people going to the banks and taking loans. Many of the individuals were taking loans. And then suddenly the crisis happened in 2008, and gradually the interest rate started rising, and now many of the people are unable to pay back their money. Leave alone individuals. Big corporates have run away with the money of this nation. Your money, my money. They've not run away with anyone's money, our money. They've run away. Our NPAs are rising. The private debt in our country is rising. We are not worried about it, by the way. We are worried about where we should build prayers of worship. That's our focus. Our focus is not all this. We have an extremely poor tax collection rate. In fact, the tax revenue in India is only 12% of the GDP. The total GDP of India is made up of 12% revenue from tax. In European Union, it is 45%. See the gap. If we wish to imitate them, we need to see these figures and statistics to see where we stand. And the last problem which I wish to discuss and then come to the solutions is financial inclusion. A very important subject, especially for the Muslims. According to the Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana scheme, which was relaunched by our existing Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, in 28th of August 2014. A recent report published last year in May says that only 4/5 of the accounts were active, which were opened during the Jan Dhan Yojana scheme. 1/5 of the accounts are lying dormant, not being used, inactive. 3 months after the scheme, 80% of the accounts had no balance. Account were opened. Come open the account. Demonetization. Everyone ran and opened the account. And in fact, it was also found that the success, Indian Express has mentioned this and says the success of this Jan Dhan Yojana scheme is a question mark. It's doubtful. We cannot say that the scheme has been successful. So financial inclusion that we were talking of, bringing the people who were deprived of banking facilities into the banking system, has been of doubt, question mark.